everyone, I'm Allie with Potomac Beads. Join me in creating this fun medley component. It can be used as a pair of earrings, as a necklace, as a pendant, bracelet design, and there's tons of different areas while you're making this lacy component to stop and create your own design and proceed with a different style. Make sure to let me know exactly where you're going to stop, where you're going to keep going, and what you do with your components. Make sure also to gather them all up, get your bead mat or your bead on it board, and let's get started. Remember, if you don't have any materials and you need to purchase some, go ahead and look in the description below for the links to shop with us online. So to do the medley component, and the reason I'm calling it as a component is because it works really nicely for a pendant or a pair of earrings, or it could be linked together for a beautiful necklace. In the example piece here, I used a round trio 6mm bead. I'm going to switch that out in my new design, and I'm going to use an SS28 6mm Chaton, which matches the 6mm round trio. So either one will work for the middle. Also using some round duo minis, I have the metallic violet, two 8/0 seed beads, one in crystal Labrador full and one in the Duracoat silver lined orchid, as well as an 11/0 in the opaque Caracas, and then a matte opaque dusty orchid in the 15/0. These are all Miyuki brand seed beads. We're going to be learning a variety of stitches. That's why it's called the medley component. We're going to begin with a little bit of netting, followed by some almost peyote stitch, then some Hubble stitch, then some right angle weave, some picot, and some square stitch. So it seems like there's a ton going on here in such a small little piece, but we're going to perfect and get you caught up on all of those different stitches. I want you to have handy a size 12 needle with some .006 wildfire beading thread about 5 feet. Because of the color that I'm using, the purple, I'm actually going to be using the green wildfire to get started on the design. Gather up your materials, lay them out on the mat, and we'll get ready to begin. Starting with our chaton and our needle and thread, I have a stop bead on the end of my thread, and I am going to go through the chaton from one corner to another, rather than straight across. I'm going to let that stop bead kind of hang out there, and we're going to end up pushing it out of the way several times. From here, we're going to go through the interior and work on the interior of the medley. If you are using a round trio bead, you would just use the outer hole. So there's 3 holes, you'll just use one of the outer ones to begin. From here, we're going to begin from our smallest to our biggest bead. So we're going 15, 11, 8, 11, 15. I'm going to go back through that same hole, which is going to position those beads on the exterior. So we're just going to kind of wrap around here. Coming out of this hole, then, I'm going to do the exact same thing. 11 with 15 first, and then an 8, going biggest to smallest. And now I'm going to go from the top hole where I'm coming out to the other side of that diamond hole. So looking at the beads here, you can see that's going to go toward the top. And we're going to let that lay again against the piece. From here, we're going to repeat the whole thing so we almost have a square around. 15, 11, 8, 11, 15. Coming out of that top hole, we're going to go back through that same hole. Again, what this is going to do is decorate the whole exterior with these seed beads. My last place to address now is from the top here over to that starter hole, same thing. Your 5 beads, ascending and then descending, and back through hole number 1 and out. Again, this is going to be then on all the corners of the piece here, just a nice little decorated area. This is even really cute for the size of your component if you want to make it as a necklace. From here, we're going to sew up till we're coming out of the 8/0 seed bead. My goal is to get 8 of those 8/0 seed beads onto the project. Right now we have 4. We're going to add 4 more in between by going up through the first 15 and 11 and stepping up to that 8/0 seed bead and having your thread exit. Once your thread exits that 8/0 seed bead, we're going to do another round of our spacing here. The spacing here is going to be the exact same, but this time we're catching on to the 8/0 that's already there. So coming out that 8-0 that's already there, you're going to do a 15, 11, 8, 11, 15, sew over to the next 8-0. From here again, coming out the 8-0, we're going to do this 4 times, adding that same exact pattern, again ascending to descending, and then through the next 8. So you're going around to all those 4 corners. We're adding in 8 more beads, which is going to start kind of rounding it out. So we're going to lose that diamond or square perception that we were having. From here over to that next 8. And then 1 more. 15, 11, 8, 11, 15. Back to that starter 8. As I come back to that starter 8 then, I finish adding in all of my beads here to make it look again more circular, just like the example piece. From here, we're going to get ready to start in on our Hubble Stitch. So we're going to get our round duo minis as well as our secondary color of our 8-0 seed bead. So for our Hubble Stitch, we're going to be using the 8-0s that are already there in that silver lined orchid color as the base of our Hubble section. I'm going to use, coming out of that, 2 11-0s. Think about this as Hubble Stitch bead number 3, if you know Hubble. We're going to add 2 of our more 8-0s, go back through the bead that's already there, which would be bead 3, and that's going to create our little Hubble Stitch Y. So the 2 beads are going to kind of sit in a V section facing out along that baseline of our orchid bead. From here, I'm going to go back through bead number 1 toward number 2. Hubble's kind of almost like a herringbone stitch. And when I come out there, I'm going to add my 4th bead to my rotation here. I'm going to then go through and out bead number 2. That will sit that round duo mini right at the top of that Hubble stitch. From here, I'm going to move on to the next. I'm going to put on beads 1 and 2 of my Hubble stitch, come over to the next 8-0. So toward the previous Hubble section there. So sewing through and picking up bead number 3. Letting those beads lay right on top. Go back up just like we did through bead number 1 toward bead number 2, which is going to cause this to sit again in that Y. Add a round duo mini and go down bead number 2. That's our second Hubble unit. As we do our second unit, then we're spinning around the project. We're going to do 8 total to catch on to those 8 beads. Again, 2 8-0s get added. You're going through the 8-0 that's already there. That's bead 3 in this Hubble unit. So back up through bead number 1, that first silver, toward the second silver bead. That's going to sit those silver beads in a Y setting, or almost like a herringbone look. Add 1 more round duo mini and down through bead number 2. I have 3 completed. You're going to do all 8 going around the exterior of this beautiful little crystal section. 3 done, 5 more to go. As you are finishing up your last of your Hubble stitch, you're adding in your round duo mini, and you're going to go up through bead number 1 of section number 1 of the Hubble stitch. So this is Hubble unit number 8, coming down bead number 2, and I'm going up bead number 1 from Hubble unit number 1. This is stepping up to get to the exterior of our piece, going through then that bottom hole of the round duo mini, and that completes our Hubble stitch. You want to lay your project down on the mat and make sure that it's not pulled too tight or too loose, that you have a lot of extra thread showing. You want it to lay nice and flat. Once you're done here, we're going to step up to the exterior, or to the secondary hold rather, of that round duo mini bead. Coming out that base hole, you're going to step up to the top. This is going to reverse the thread, so it's being sewn in the opposite direction. You'll see a tiny bit of thread going from hole number 1 to number 2 on that round duo mini, But by the time we go in now and add this exterior embellishment, you won't really see it at all here. So for the exterior, what we're going to do to begin is we are going to add in here an 11 and then back to our primary color of our 8O seed beads. We're going to add in 1 11. Then I want you to add 4 of your 8O seed beads. We're going to do a little picot trim, kind of a right angle weave technique. We add the 4 beads, and then we're going to sew back through bead number 1 toward bead number 2. That's going to create a little right angle weave unit that sits above there. See how it sits in that little nice square? Add 1 more 11O seed bead, and then sew through to your next round duo mini. That's just going to sit there as we go around and do the same exact thing over and over. 1 11O, 4 of my 8Os, going back through bead number 1 toward bead number 2 to round out those 4 8Os. And then as I do that, pull nice and tight so I don't see any extra thread showing, kind of push it down next to the 11O, add 1 more 11O and over to the next round duo mini. I have 2 of these, and because I have 8 units, I have 6 more to go to finish off my 8 units that go the whole way around the Medley component. So once you're done here adding in the last of your sections here of that right angle weave, I want you to sew through that first round duo mini, as well as the first 11 and that 8O at the bottom of that first round, or that first right angle weave unit. Lay your piece down and make sure that there's not any pulling going on and that it's laying nicely and there's not any rippling effect going on, so that way it lays flat. From here, we're going to progress up to our second bead in our right angle unit, going up towards that side bead. We're going to go along the exterior, linking and connecting all the side beads here. We're going to add a 15, an 11, and our secondary color of our 8, followed by an 11 and a 15. Going over, to the next right angle unit, you're going to go down the right side, which is bead number 4 from that unit. Scoot on over then through bead number 1 that sits along the bottom. Just through the 8Os, I'm not going through any 11s. From here, go up through bead number 2, or the bead that sits on the right of that unit. We're going to continue this the whole way around the piece. 15, 8, 11, 11, 15, going up and down down through my next right angle unit. Once I'm down through there, I go through the baseline 8, and then I'm also going to go up through the bead that sits on the side, out the left side, and then again over toward the right unit. So I'm going circling around, adding this little rippling effect. If you want it to be a little bit greater, here in the example, you can see I used 2 11Os in a row rather than the 15, 11, 8. After you add in your last arch there, going along the sides of the right angle unit, you're going to be coming down the right side of one of your units. We're going to go on the top here and add another little right angle weave section above each unit. Now you could have done this at the same time when you were adding the arches here, but I want to show how nice this component is just to stop at any time and you get that nice, lovely, lacy look. What we're going to be doing is adding some more of our secondary silver beads to the top. We need to get up to the top, so I'm going to go through those 8O seed beads in that right angle unit and make sure that I'm coming out this top bead. Coming out the top bead here, you're going to grab 1, 2, 3 more 8O seed beads, and this really could be any size, it's up to you. And you're going to sew back through that same 8O seed bead. See that there? In my example piece, I then went down through the right angle unit, over to the 11Os, through the round duos, back over and up to the next one. For our units here, see how that worked? Goes here and they're disconnected. I'm going to connect them just to make it a little bit quicker and to change up the design. Coming out of that 8O, I want you to add 1 11 115. Pick up the 11, 8, 11 of the arch. Coming out there, add 115, 111, and sew through, sew through the next exterior or top 8-0 seed bead. Again, 1, 2, 3 beads go on, circle around through that 8-0. That gets me my second out of my 8 peaks. Add an 15, then an 11. Pick up the 11, 8, 11, sewing right there along the piece. And then continue on with your little trim pieces. After each one, I kind of want to do a tight pull just to make sure that it's sitting nice and at the top. And also, as you're going around, keep in mind to always lay it down flat so you don't have too much or too little tension pulled, again, that it starts to get that rippling effect. So coming out, I'm always going to be adding one more 15 and then an 11, sewing through what's already there, getting 1, 2, 3 beads, sewing back through the 8. I just realized the last one I switched up the order by accident. You're going to do an 11 and a 15 into the 11, 8, 11. Then once again, 15, 11 into the next 8. I'm going to continue going the whole way around, adding in just this little trim effect. After you're adding in the last of your 8-0 seed beads, you're going to add your little bridging beads here, the 11, the 15 coming out, then the 11 after going through that center section. I'm going to add my last 15, 11, and then sew back into the first 8-0 seed bead. At the same time, I'm going to go over to the secondary, so I'm sewing straight across that line over into that 8-0, where I basically, second one that I started with. And this is where I'm going to go in then and create my bail for my piece. So if you're doing it as a pair of earrings, you can use a wire guard and connect that way. As it's laying on your piece, it's nice and lacy, but will lay nice and flat against the chest or against your wrist. I'll show it here. Even if you want to attach it, it's really cool on the wrist as you're working with it there. Again, also as earrings hanging down. From here, I'm going to get ready to do my bail. To do the bail section, we're going to do a little tiny bit of square stitch, but we're going to use a little trick here. We're going up through the 8-0 seed bead there on the side that we added, and we're going to add a total of 14 of our 11-0 seed beads. There's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. I'm going to go back into that same 11-0 seed bead. So it's coming out of it. I did my 14 beads. I went back into it. From here, I'm going to go through that base 8-0 and then up through the 8 on the other side of this same little point. Once again, 14 beads get added. Once I have those 14 beads on, I'm going once again down through that same bead. This is going to create a double bail here that we're going to let sit right on top of the piece. From here, I'm going to go through again that baseline 8-0 seed bead. I'm then going to go up through my side 8-0. I'm going to sew 2 beads up in that grouping of 14. 1, 2 beads up. And here's where I'm going to do a little bit of square stitch. I'm going to sew through the 8-0. That's already there. I'm going to go down through the 2 beads that are on the opposite side and bring that together into that bail. See how that sits? Now, if you want to, you can repeat that further up along the top. Do it twice, do it 3 times, kind of wherever you want. I'm going to keep this one open and disjoined like that so it makes a little bit more of an effect when I have my piece of cord, or I think this would look lovely on ribbon going through. From here, I'm going to finish off my piece. So I'm going to go down into that same 8/0, down through the 8/0 bead here. And what I'm going to do is just work my way through the different stitches in order to get back to that starter bead that's in the back of the piece and back of the project. To do so, again, I'm just going to take my thread and needle down through the right angle weave, then through the round duo, back it around into here, back through, get it over there, tie it off, nice and simple. Once you tie it off, then you're going to grab your thread burner, burn off the thread edges, and your piece here, the medley, which is a ton of different stitches, is all finished up. I love the variety that you can pick and stop at any point making this. You can also use different 6mm beads in the middle. It's just kind of essential that you have a multi-hole bead, so at least 2 holes in that 6mm. You could use a 2-hole cab, round duo, or round trio, some of these faceted chatons, and really have fun with the different ideas of the settings for the middle of this component. Thank you so much for joining me in making this fun little component. It is a great use of some random beads that you may have. You can change it up by using different beads in the center, and I can't wait to see exactly everybody's designs, chains ups, and what they used in our Facebook group for beading and jewelry making. Make sure also, if you want to, you can list below and say what you're going to be using in the center, what you have used, any changes that you made. That's awesome to help out that beading community, and I take a look at those for feedback too. So any feedback you want to leave me in that comment section, or any design changes, ideas, or even what your favorite color and color combinations are, make sure to include them there. As always, you can give a little thumbs up if you like the video, and also subscribe if you haven't yet so you don't miss anything from us here at Potomac Beads. With so many different options, make sure to check out the links below to shop with us online at PotomacBeads.com as well as PotomacBeads.eu. Once again, I can't wait to see all of your different creations for this medley component, learning a multitude of stitches in one design. Thanks so much for watching, and have fun.